All right. Well, we welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, January the 26th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And I was trying to read the chat room as I was talking. Multitasking isn't always easy. But dial that number, press 1, that puts you into queue. You can go to our website, which is www.whyagain.org, and click on the bullseye or the Start Here, and that'll take you to where you'll find all of the worksheets, Michael's book. You can download or read it online. There's lots of tools, and we invite you to put them to use in your life. And so, Lisa, you say you're open for suggestions. It is love and being, and you're just wonderful, and I am thankful for you. And the wonderful food that you did, you know, it's been almost a year since we did the intensive in Abingdon, Virginia. It's flown by. It's been a crazy year, but we have survived it. And thank you, everybody who was holding the space for my son, Ryan, and his beloved, and Arya. They are on the other side and out of quarantine, finally. And so we've got Arya today for the first time in over 3 weeks, and it's amazing to have her back. And giving Michael just a minute to get dialed in. And so I don't think he's with us yet, but we start our intensive tomorrow. This is the second online intensive, and those of you who may be listening that are part of it, we hope that you've reviewed the first 4 hours of the videos from the last intensive. Sent links out to all the new people, and of course the links were already in the Codependence private Facebook page. We have 17 new people, plus the majority of the 25 from the last intensive are going to rejoin us as a support opportunity. So we will have a large group starting tomorrow night. And Michael, welcome. I hear you rattling there, so I know you're back.
Yes, I'm excited about everybody that's going to be with us starting tomorrow night for the next 14 weeks. Knowing the individuals involved, I think it's going to be a really interesting intensive in terms of what moves and the kind of support that we'll develop. And I'm just going to pick right up on the reading from Why Is This Happening to Me? Again, we're on page 11. I'm going to read just a few paragraphs. And we've been talking with Richard, the character in the book, about pain and the fact that if I have pain, that's my warning signal that there's work for me to do. And I had just put forward the key thought, let's put away our mirrors, let's put away our magnifying glasses and get out our mirrors. It's time to stop criticizing others and focus on ourselves. Richard let me know that what I said seemed to make sense, but he was confused by the fact that his negative feelings only happened when he was with the women in his life. His hostility seems to quiet as he expressed skepticism. I talked about how feelings are easier to hide when there's no one around to trigger them. I reminded him of the bridge analogy, and that the bridge remains down when there's nothing to trigger its potential to elevate. I informed him of the work of the former IBM research scientist Marcel Vogel, who was able to measure the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. Richard, I like to call those energy waves the psychic megaphone. I also like to call them the creative wave. Every reality your mind sets up an energy wave to attract people who are in tune with that reality. The people we attract then trigger that reality in us. But the trigger does not cause our feelings. It only resonates what's already there. Richard and I explored just who he was calling in with his psychic megaphone to serve as his trigger. The primary areas of examination was his long history of unhappy involvements with women. As we did so, he hooked in some strong emotions, his life of unresolved resentments. I've drawn some real winners. The women I'm attracted to seem to have warm and loving feelings for a while. Then, all of a sudden, they become distant And no matter what I do, I can't seem to get their attention. That makes me frustrated and sad when and then I get really angry and attack. He was visibly agitated as he spoke. Richard had blamed the women in his life for his feelings of sadness and anger and was confused about why he only felt those feelings when he was in relationship. How, he wondered out loud, could it not be their fault? Once again, grasp the ability of the mind to set up and distort its images. I think you will see how perception can be so far off base. One of the difficulties in understanding and seeing through our distortions is that we attempt to gain clarity without cleaning up the device that's doing the distorting, the mind. One historical method used to getting past the inherent distortion of the mind is a parable, a word which in Aramaic means parallel meaning. A parable engages the mind with its literal meaning, while the underlying message, which cannot be directly taught, bypasses the intellect and is understood by the part of us that is more than a mind. I'd like to share a parable designed to assist in grasping how limiting current human beliefs are. It also helps to build the brain cells necessary to function in a totally different way, with different realities guiding us. And so we're going to move in tomorrow's reading or into the arena of words and what words are capable of, what they really mean. And in the process of this ongoing healing, there's a need to build brain cells to empower the mind to structure the way we see the world differently than perhaps our generations have taught us to see it. You know, we have a generational propensity to produce certain realities, certain images and ways of seeing. And then we have this environmental influence and language influence that becomes what formulates quite literally the world we see. And then, of course, we have our desires. You know, there's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says, you must be aware of the distorting power of the way you want it to be. And when I want something to be a certain way, I'm really hooked into it. It's got to be this way. This has got to be the truth. They've got to be to blame. I mean, all of the evidence in the environment can be literally, step by step, a perfect reflection of my responsibility. But if I'm living in a world, but I've got to find somebody else to blame, I will supplant, I will displace all of that evidence, all of that information, no matter how plain it is. 1,000 people can stand and look and say, but it's as plain as the nose on your face. But the distorting power of the way I want it to be will cause my mind to hallucinate a reality that's in alignment with my desire. And then I will literally see a world that doesn't exist except as a perceptual construct in my mind. And if that world is not connected to active, present love, then, you know, it's like all bets are off. The mind can do anything it wants to, whatever's in there. It can literally hallucinate. You know, if you've ever watched a stage hypnotist, someone's standing on a stage and it's obviously a stage. This person looks down and, you know, there's light energy bouncing off of the stage. It hits the antenna called the eye. Brain cells fire and the person says, yes, here I stand on a stage. But we can supplant that reality through hypnosis, which is the uncritical acceptance of an idea. So when a person's put into a state of hypnosis, the same person standing on the stage who was looking at the stage just a moment before, by interjecting the hypnotist's voice in place of the light energy coming in through the eye, if the hypnotist's voice takes charge of the mind, the hypnotist can say, and now here you stand on the deck of a ship. And here, and hands this person a broomstick and says, here's a fishing pole. Now, this person will literally look down at their feet and see themselves standing on a ship. And they'll look at the broomstick And their brain will not replicate a broomstick. The brain will hallucinate, will generate, according to the hypnotist's instructions, quite literally a fishing pole. And this person will actually see the deck of the ship and the fishing pole that isn't there. Now, a sure sign that I'm experiencing something that isn't there, that is not true in the actuality, is that there's hostility or fear moving in me. And when hostility or fear is moving, that means that my mind is being fueled by something other than the truth. And I will swear something's true that absolutely never happened because a powerful hypnotist, we're seeing this in the political arena right now. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of courts and lawyers and, nope, there was no fraud. But a hypnotist stood up and said, there was fraud. And this person will hallucinate all the evidence they need to the point where they will risk their lives to try to counter something that doesn't exist. Key determiner of whether or not the mind is producing perceptual structures that are in tune with actuality rather than perceptual structures that are from somewhere way out in left field, and left field meaning according to the voice of the person who's brainwashing or has this person hypnotized. The key that will tell you is there love there? How many people have you heard arguing about this whole election thing, and they're arguing about something that's been proven over and over not to be true, but what's the tone of their voice? What's the energies they're in? They're in hostility and fear. And they want it to be a certain way, as the Course says, be aware of the distorting power of the way you want it to be. And they literally live in a reality that just isn't accurate about anything that's actual. So keeping an eye on our own minds and recognizing that hostility or fear are fuel supplies that distort the perceptual constructs of the mind becomes an important piece of understanding in waking up to who we are and living in a reality structure that is in tune with the truth. People will come from generations of relationships that lived or that were fomented in hostility and fear. And they'll say, well, I want to go into this relationship and I want to experience love here. But what's resonated in them in their quote-unquote relationship file is hostility or fear. And they say, well, that person just doesn't love me. Well, my offering is you're right. That person doesn't love you, and nobody ever has and nobody ever will, because love isn't something we do to each other. It's what we are. If you're ever going to actually experience love in a relationship, you're going to have to put it there. You're going to have to show up as the created essence of love that you are, because love is only your experience when it comes through you, when you're experiencing yourself as that presence of love. So you're the one who has to bring the love to the experience. And when I withdraw quote-unquote love, which is really approval from somebody else, when I put conditions on holding to the presence of love, who is it that gets to lose the experience of love? It's only me. If my partner does the same thing, it's only my partner that loses the experience of love by withdrawing who they are from their own experience. So we're the ones who are responsible for perpetually bringing the presence of love into our experience. Another person can't do that from us. And sadly, the word love has been grossly distorted in this culture. And the word that most people use as love really now is approval. If I'm feeling like I'm approved of you, then I'm feeling loved. But what I'm really feeling is the high that comes, the endorphin rush that comes from achieving a goal of being approved of. I did something, and here you are, you now approve of me, now I feel love. No, I'm feeling an endorphin rush that comes from achieving a goal. But when I choose to hold, when I discover myself as love and choose to hold to the presence of love, then I have a whole different experience. Now, there was a woman at Heartland several years ago who had a fear of the woods, and she was staying in one of the cabins with her husband, and they were alone in the cabin, and she woke up in the middle of the night and went to the kitchen to get a drink of water, and as she went into the kitchen, she saw this huge brown rat on the counter. She was terrified and ran back and got into bed. In the morning, when she cautiously went into the kitchen to find the rat, what it was a brown towel that she had left on the kitchen counter. Her fear projected. She saw something in the towel that wasn't there. Do you have a towel in your life? Do you have something or someone whose whose image comes from the past in your own mind rather than from the truth of who you are? When you wake up to who you are as a human being, and your perceptual constructs are fueled by love, you will always experience the presence of love, no matter what anybody else is doing. And if you lose that experience, it'll be because something in you is resonating that overrides the experience of you functioning as who you are as love. And fortunately, we have this awesome tool of first century Aramaic forgiveness, which is a tool for dissolving those patterns of hostility or fear and returning ourselves to the actual experience of the presence of love. Returns us to who we are as human beings. And so we're honored and delighted that you're here to be part of this conversation. And Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room? Hello, Miss Jeanie.
Hold on, yeah. Yeah, I had to unmute.
Have you got a little one keeping you busy?
Yeah, we're putting bears together. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So let's see. Would Michael revisit how the hallucinations can replicate in mass? And then she laughed and said, I guess I tuned into his train of thought. So
sure.
Anyway.
It's a pretty straightforward thing. All you have to do is have a mass number of people who are buying the same mind energy. Remember that perception is a construct of the mind, and the constructs of the mind are a reflection of the mind energy that's resonating in that mind. So if you've got 1 million people or 10 million or 70 million people who are listening to one source of thought that is telling a lie, obviously, we could put it in the context of our example of the stage hypnotist. When the stage hypnotist tells their subject that they're staying on the deck of a ship, obviously they're lying. But if the person is in the uncritical acceptance of an idea state, which is called hypnosis, the lie, that is, they're standing on the deck of a ship, becomes a perceptual construct in the mind. So if you've got 70 million people listening to the lie in the uncritical acceptance of that idea, you can present all the evidence you want that shows the truth of the situation. It's not going to get in until it becomes the predominant resonant energy functioning in the mind. And of course, we live in this world of mass media where millions of people can be hypnotized in, repeatedly. And one of the ways that hypnosis works is by repeating the lie. If you go back to Hitler, his propaganda expert said that what you had to do was make the lie big enough, tell it often enough, and people would believe it. Once people tuned into it, once people were in harmony with the energy put out by the person telling the lie, then they became a receptive vehicle for that lie. And literally, the lie becomes the visual perceptual construct in the mind. The person sees the lie at the cost of deleting from the mind the truth. Where all of the evidence in the actual world sitting in front of somebody says a certain thing, if one's attuned, if one is hypnotized in the uncritical acceptance of an idea, then that whole block of evidence presented by the truth can be voided in a heartbeat. And people will literally see the lie in visual form. You know, we have this digital to analog converter called the human mind. You might remember a few years ago, the FCC, in all its wisdom, decided that they were going to require that all television broadcasting be digital. And you remember before that, they had old style TVs, and they had what they called analog television broadcasting. That is, they'd superimpose an actual image, the information of a picture on the carrier wave of the TV station. It would be received by the TV, and the analog information would be drawn out, and you get a picture. Well, the FCC decided that they were going to change that, and all broadcasting, had to become digital. That meant the analog images, the picture information was removed, and what was put in place was digital information that represented the same pictures, but it was in a different format. It was now digital. People who didn't have digital converters couldn't watch TV anymore. So, of course, you got to keep everybody in the brainwash. So the FCC, in its great wisdom, declared that if you wouldn't go out and buy a new TV, or you wouldn't go out and buy yourself a digital converter box, they'd pay for one for you. So people by the millions got these digital converter boxes, and they could watch TV again. So what happened with the new digital converters is the signal, the carrier signal that was carrying digital information, would go into the converter box, and it would be converted into the analog image that the television could then show as a picture. So digital to analog conversion. Each human mind is a digital to analog converter. Whatever mind energy, whatever thought, digital information are held by a particular mind, that digital information will be converted literally into the picture world that you see. So the person standing on the stage, that looking at the stage, their brain shows them a picture of a stage. When the predominant resonant energy running that mind is the words of the hypnotist who says you're now staying on the deck of a ship, the stage would be supplanted. The stage would be overridden by the converted image of the hypnotist's voice that said you're now on the deck of a ship. And the perceptual construct would show this person that they were standing on the deck of a ship. And, you know, this is one piece. You know, what the Greeks did to the Aramaic teachings of Yeshua is pretty bizarre, pretty much across the board. But there's one piece that the Greeks put out there that was so powerful and so important. And they said, guard the portals of the mind. Be careful whose mind energy you let run your mind, because if you let that mind energy run your mind, then you will live in a world that is false. And this is why so often we talk about thought disorders. Somebody says, oh, I'm a piece of crap. Oh, so let's go back and talk about your power person and what kind of mind energy they fed to you. And yes, you are seeing yourself as that piece of crap that your power person fed to you, and it's all based in a lie. What forgiveness does is it weakens the lie. It literally, each time you engage in forgiveness, it weakens the presence of the frequency of the voice that hypnotized. And as that is weakened, then the truth of the presence of who you are as created love comes through, and you get to start experiencing yourself as the truth of who you are. That is no longer blocked by the thought disorder. If we go to the opening words in the book of John, where we're told it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh. In Aramaic, that's not what it says at all. It says, in the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. What you call flesh and blood literally initiates as mind energy. Now, we're talking about what shows up as the visual pictures in our minds, but we're also talking about your physiology. Because what the cell biologists are showing us today is that when you think a thought, that thought becomes a neuropeptide, an actual chemical, so-called chemical in your structure that circulates around in your structure until it finds a cell with a receptor site that matches. It lands on the receptor site, inserts itself in the cell, and literally becomes the chemistry, quote-unquote chemistry, in the cell. Mind energy becoming flesh. So guard the portals of the mind. Be careful who you let in there. Be careful whose thoughts you allow to run your structure, because people have been convinced to live and act in really crazy, bizarre, and even criminal ways because someone hypnotized them into a lie. So I hope that makes sense of your question. And it gives us a chance to look a little more deeply into the principles by which this visual structure and our physiology develop over time. And so, Miss Jeanie, does our questioner have any other thoughts about that feedback, or anybody else on the phone queue with a hand up? Anything happening in the chat room?
Just a second, sweetie.
I hear a little voice.
Oh.
Here's the littlest co-host. Hello,
Miss
Arya
having
Rain.
her distract me here.
Yeah, I understand.
Fingernails. Hold on.
Hey, sweetie.
Okay.
Can you hear me,
Get
Arya
back
Rain?
over here to the computer. Let me turn it on speaker.
Hey, Papa's talking to you.
Hey, sweetie. Arya, can you say hello to everybody?
She went and hid. Okay, we do have a hand up. So,
okay.
Area code 480. You're on the air, and the comment in the chat room said that was great. Thank you.
Cool. 480. Give us a name. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Michael. It's Scott from Bend,
Well, hey
Oregon.
there, sir. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are things in Oregon? What's happening in your world?
Well, first, the introduction that you just provided, both from the book and then answering that question, I thought were outstanding. So thanks for that.
Yeah. You are welcome.
And the question regarding, did you say beware or be aware of the distorting power of the way you wish it to be? Maybe both apply.
Yes.
Yeah, beware is right. Okay, so, and then, Michael, will you please do it again? I heard you yesterday.
Your voice is kind of fading in and out. I don't know if you're moving your microphone or.
No, I'm moving my head. There we go.
Okay.
What was your explanation from yesterday about saying sorry? I wanted to make sure I got that correct.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Well, the idea of, we've got a replacement for saying you're sorry, and we call it the apology tool. And the reason for the apology tool is because being creators and mind energy being the key to how we create, if I join with another by telling them I'm sorry, of course, now I'm thinking about what I'm sorry about, they're thinking about what I'm sorry about, our two minds are joined, we're going to tend to create more of that same experience that we're sorry about. So we suggest people never, ever use the words I'm sorry ever again for anything. And the replacement is the apology tool. And the apology tool is I'm willing to take responsibility for what I've done. And when I see that I've done something that's off base, then I apologize. Gee, I wasn't watching where I was going, and I stepped on your toes, and I hurt your toes, and I apologize for that. And then I want to shift into what it is that I'm going to do to replace that behavior. So now I have two minds supporting me in moving in the direction of what I'm going to do that's an upgrade from that behavior. So, I apologize for stepping on your toes, and in the future, I'll make sure to be very aware and very careful around your feet so your feet are safe and healthy. Now I have your mind and my minds focused in creating safe, healthy feet for you and everybody else. So I've changed my whole creative process by being responsible for my behavior and willing to apologize when I'm off base, but then really creating a clear visual picture of what I'm going to do in replacement of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks. Is the apology tool on the website anywhere?
You just got
Or
it.
is that-
I don't know whether we've got it written up or not. Jeanie?
Okay.
I don't think
No, I
it's something
don't,
that
but that'd be a good one to
we've written
add.
down. Okay.
Because seems great to me.
Well, maybe seeing as how you want to really get that one down pat, you could go back and download this show and just transcribe that 3 or 4 minutes and send us a copy of it. We'll put it in the notes.
Oh, well,
Then you'd really ground it for yourself.
I did just write almost all of it down. I started writing it down yesterday, and I finished it up. I just wanted to make sure I got it right. So,
Cool. Well, maybe you send us a copy of it, so we'll add it to the notes for today and put it on the website. It's a good idea.
Hey, I've got enough homework.
There you go. Cool.
Okay.
Now,
so,
there are your teacher brain cells and your homework brain cells firing, eh?
well, I'm talking about the intensive. I've discovered that, yeah, I've got some work to do here. Well,
Yay.
if you want something to get done, you give it to a busy person, right?
There you go. Go for it.
All right. So I have about 7 questions. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do to get ready for the intensive, and I've written down questions as preparation. But I know there's like 7 or 8. Is this the time, or should I wait until the intensive begins?
Go for it. Maybe if there's anything that you need to lead up to tomorrow night, they'd be good questions to ask. But if there's anything that's really part of the intensive process itself, maybe it'd be good questions to bring for everybody tomorrow night.
That's what I was thinking, is that they might be questions that would serve everyone rather than to put them on the radio program.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Well, then there's one. Then I'll save those. And one other thing that came up for me is in the last few days. Recall that I said that I had experienced a vitality increase based upon doing the work.
Right.
Well, so what I told myself in a rather clever way was, all right, so I'm going to put the work on hold until the intensive begins, and give myself a little break.
Oh, careful what you ask for.
Oh my. I mean, the clever deception, and there it is, there's the hypnosis, if you will, right there. The clever deception behind that thought and what it led up to. In 2 days, the train just came off the tracks because of that decision. And symptoms went wild. And so, I look at it now as, I'm not going to use that decision to attack myself. I'm going to use that decision and the results and learn from it and pick myself back up. Pick myself back up and start doing the sheets. The lesson learned is, for me right now, I can't take a break, so to speak, because it's just not possible unless I want to pay a heavy price, and that's the thing. And so, but that's why I was asking if you meant beware of distorting power the way you wish it to be, or you shouldn't. And then, so last night or this morning I wake up, and the very last dream I had was I was in a hotel room, and there were, 6 or 7 lights around the different walls in this room. And I went to each one, and none of them would turn on. The bulbs were burned out. And I finally got to the last one, which was one of those little lamps that's over one of the beds. And fortunately, it turned on. And And then I was sitting there at a computer and I had work to do. And what I got from that is that literally with where I am right now, I'm kind of down to my last lamp, which is better get going before that bulb goes out too, because I don't see any replacements anywhere in the room. Yikes.
Well, it also, for me, would sound like perhaps you're being told that you can do some work in your sleep. And so I'd be, last thing at night, and I do this all the time, is one of my last requests, and before I go to sleep at night, is, Ruka, show me what work I need to do through my dreams and through sleep to go to the next level of healing.
Oh, and that's on the request of Ruka sheet that you sent me, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's part of it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, and so here's part of it, part of what's going on for me, Michael, is I've been trying to consolidate and get on board with practically everything that you have to offer. But it has been something of a challenge while I've been working this job. And so, fortunately, that looks like it may change. The job situation may change very soon. And so,
oh, good. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And so the time I have to focus on this work and the consolidation of it and doing what I really need to do is right in front of me. But that's where I tricked myself too, is I said, well, all this great time and opportunity is right in front of me, so why don't I just take a little break? Man, didn't work. Did not work.
And one of the things I'd suggest is you really watch what you ask for. I remember one woman who was working pretty hard, and she kept saying to herself that she wanted a long break, she wanted a long break, she wanted a long break. Well, set her life up in a way that she fell and broke the upper part of her arm, which is the longest bone in the human body, and incidentally, the least broken bone in the human body. She broke it. She got exactly what she asked for, and it was the longest bone in her body that she broke. And it's interesting, when you think about energetic influences, and somebody might say this is just a coincidence, and somebody might say, it's a reflection of the movement of energy. Again, this being the longest or the least broken bone in the human body, she had been estranged from her husband for several years, and about 6 months later, he broke the same bone.
Huh.
Okay. That sounds kind of interesting. So, we ask for, you'll notice in the intensive, we take an intermission. We don't take breaks, we take intermissions. So you might just look for your intermission, your quiet space. And
that was the word I was searching for, an intermission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have one thing based upon, which is a question that would be, well, it would be helpful if everyone heard it, but it would be helpful if I heard it now, the answer to this, which was, I heard in a conversation with Nene, it might have been yesterday, that the canceling of goals, right? Like if I'm in my car and I don't really have something to write down, and I trigger myself over something, and I go, well, what I need, my perceived need right there is for respect. Can I just call on Ruka on my mind and say, hey, I'm taking responsibility for this. I give you or I offer you my need for respect here or cooperation or whatever, and help me? Or is it something that I need to take home and write down?
No. Just go through your life with becoming aware of the kinds of things. We carry around generational goals, and when you become conscious of them, cancel them just right there on the spot.
And that doesn't work quite as well as putting it on paper, like through a worksheet?
Well,
or does it?
My offering would be that, if something just incidental comes up and I become aware of it, it may just be a fragment of a genetic memory, a little piece of, genetic information. I can throw that out, and the more proficient I become at it, the easier it's going to be. But if I'm getting involved in something that's a deeper issue I really need to work on, then the worksheet helps to focus the mind and to keep awareness on the subtler energies that need to move. And so that's when I suggest you definitely put the pen to the paper.
Okay. And there's and then perhaps an in-between is the worksheet that has the what are they, the little, the 4-step worksheet that has like 5 different opportunities to put stuff down on in there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, see, that's what I mean when I say I want to kind of just put this all together for myself, because I do offer Ruka practically everything that crosses my mind that I see that doesn't belong there. And I do identify the perceived need that goes with it and just say, hey, Ruka, please take this away, take it to the dump, whatever. I don't, I want it out. So, okay, all right, then good, that's affirmation. And then, okay, Michael, I think I'm good. I'll save the rest for tomorrow. Well, it'll be afternoon for me, but tomorrow for the intensive.
Cool. All right.
So,
we'll see you at 6 o'clock our time and 3 o'clock your time. Blessings.
I'll be there.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate you. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Miss Jeanie.
Well, we had another hand up, and now they've disappeared. So if you are still on the switchboard, if you'll press 1 again, it'll put you back up in queue. I didn't recognize the number, so I'm not sure who it was. And if you're on a station,
but we're here to answer questions.
Yeah. If you're on another station that we can't see, 563-999-3581, and then press 1, and that'll put you into queue.
Yeah, so if you call that number, you'll actually be listening to the show on your phone. And then when you push 1, through the magic of technology, a little hand goes up in the switchboard, and Jeanie will know you want to speak to us. And we'd love to have a conversation. We're getting down to some of the basics today, with the opening of the reading from the opening chapters of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And as time goes on, we'll get into some of the deeper principles of the work through the opening reading from Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And you can certainly follow along with that reading if you want to download the book free. Just go to our website, whyagain.org. And you can download the book free. You can also find it usually on Amazon or on eBay. The book is out of print right now, so we don't have any new copies, but you can usually buy a good used copy for a couple dollars on Amazon or eBay, so it's there and available. And,
Michael?
Yes?
2 things. 1, pull your microphone up closer to your mouth, and then we have 2 callers.
Great. Let's say hello.
First one is area code 520. You're on the air. Who do we have?
This is Audrey.
Welcome, young lady. Good to hear your voice. How are you?
I am well.
Awesome.
And this morning, I went through your book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And on the key notes in the boxes, I highlighted it. Yeah, the key thoughts, and I highlighted them. And and I put in the margin what the key word to me was.
Right.
Okay. And then I had my friend who was a teacher her entire life.
Uh-huh.
And I asked her to explain the process to me, okay, with the short form of the forgiveness, the short form, and she diagrammed it on a paper because I am very I process predominantly right-brained.
So you're a visual learner?
Yes, visual and audio. And so she explained to me, and she knows a lot of my childhood abuse. And
right.
she said to me, Audrey, what you're having trouble is expressing the words. She says, you know the feeling, but you're having problems expressing it in the words. So
right.
she's working with me to identify the words. And I asked her, she said, I asked, in your opinion, what is it that here I am a senior and I still don't have the words? And she said it could possibly be A or possibly B. She said that I wasn't allowed to express my words.
Right.
This was her take on it. So as
I was inhibited.
Excuse me, yes. So as I
wonderful support.
I hope my goal is well-being, and through the goal, attaining the goal is doing my inner work. But I find that the book on the key thoughts in the diagram really helps me and sums up the narrative in the book. Also, what is in bold. That is what's helping me. The whole book is helping me. But as I narrow it down and focus in my journey.
That's awesome.
This makes sense. Yeah.
That's right on track. And it's so wonderful that you've got somebody with that knowledge and skill that's willing to be there to support you. That's just fabulous. Wow.
Yeah, she was, and she was a special needs teacher for 30 years, and she took it and put diagrams so that, and she of course had to study the brain and processing, and so she could identify and work with me. So it takes a village.
What a nice
and I'm
gift.
so thankful. Yes.
Wow.
And
something I'd be thankful for is if you wouldn't mind taking a picture with your phone of those drawings and sending them to us, text them to us.
Oh, I shall.
It'd be awesome to have those. I mean, who knows what I might learn and that we might be able to add to the tools. That's someone with that kind of skill and that kind of willingness. What a sweet gift.
It is, and I am so grateful. And like my friend who told me about the radio show and gave me a number and said, here, dial the number and you'll hear it. That's how I started with this. And in order to do the preparatory work for the workshop, he who was in Oregon, I'm in Tucson, was working with me on my computer because my computer skills are challenged. We were able to, in order to do that, I had another friend who came over who works in computer, who knew this friend in Oregon. So they spoke, and one went on my computer, the other one was telling him, the Oregon person was telling the person in Tucson who works at computers, and then the person who did the file and the folder. So my work is ready to do the intensive, then instructed me on how to do it. So it takes a village,
really cool.
And all my friends are helping me.
Well, you must be doing something right to be attracting that much support.
Oh, I am
That's
so
pretty
grateful.
Cool.
I am so grateful.
I got it. That's awesome.
And thank you, and blessings, because I am learning so much about myself. And as I learn about myself, it is being shared with others.
Sweet. Pass it on.
Bless
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, young lady. I'm looking forward to working with you intensive. Excuse me, Jeanie, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Audrey, I just sent you an email. Since you're visual on it, you might want to watch the PowerPoint presentation because it moves, from one thing to another. It's like the moving pictures, and explains the forgiveness process. So that might be interesting for you to watch. So I sent you the link to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And, I just want to say to both of you, as I'm doing my inner work, people are noticing that I am happier, and they want to know what's going on. So I have a friend who comes on Tuesday and Thursdays to partake in the Zoom meeting on Tuesday and Thursday, the support group. And I have another friend. Who asked me, "What about this? Do you think that I could come too?" So it is just it's like a pebble in a pond, and it's going out and out and out. Thank you
That's wonderful.
so very much.
Well, thank you so much for passing it on. Our objective is that this energy, this understanding becomes available to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. So thanks for helping to pass it on to them. That's fabulous.
And I am so blessed with so many friends. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Sweet. And I have a feeling this friend in Bend, Oregon, is a certain Scott that we've been chatting with. So thank you, Scott, for all of the support that you're being with Audrey and moving things forward. It's pretty cool. And we are down to about the last 10 minutes of the show.
I have a hand up.
Well, great. Let's talk to the hand.
541, you're on the air.
Is this another part of the Far West contingent out there at 541? Is that you, Celinda? Or Julie? Hello, 541. You are on the air.
I was on mute. I didn't know that. Whoops.
The old mute challenge. I know how that goes. Welcome, Julie. How are you, young lady?
Can you also hear me now?
You're loud and clear.
Okay, good. I put my earbuds back in. All right. So, hi. I love it every time you bring up about the portals of our mind. And do you know where that is in the scripture? Not offhand,
that's not
probably.
a scriptural idea. That comes out of the Greeks. That's a Greek saying, "Guard the portals of the mind."
Oh.
I don't remember who said it. I would imagine if you put it in Google, probably the quote would come up from wherever it was sourced. But
okay.
I don't know exactly.
Thank you. I didn't get that until now. First of all, after you were finished speaking about that, we could hear Arya rain again. I just wanted to say I always love her entering the portals of my mind.
Me too.
And over the years, that's just been a really powerful thing for me to know, and I've guarded it carefully. And when the digital took over the analog, like you were speaking of, I just boycotted the whole thing. That's when I stopped watching television. And that was a long time ago. I've since then picked up a little, and in fact, this morning I was noticing, these news stations or whatever you call shows that are on 24 hours are continually repeating loops. And it's brainwashing. Hypnosis. And it's just ridiculous. So anyway, I'm glad I can see through it. And another thing, Michael, that helps me know when my portal is uncomfortable with I then usually put a judgment on the toxicity around me, but I'll not do that this time. It's just that whenever my own sensitivity is uncomfortable, I do two things. I look at what's stirring in me, and do that work. But I also noticed that I can notice that that's going on, that indeed is an effect in the world that is caused by whatever's causing it, okay? I don't want to go in that direction. The direction I want to go in is that I also remember, and you might want to go into this a moment and I'll leave, that, like, for example, you and Jeanie would go to a movie that was, you knew it was going to be hard on the portals of your mind, but you utilized it. You took your root sheets with you to see what's there and have it removed. So could you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that's real important these days. Always it's important. And thank you. Well, and if you wanted to catch me on anything, that's okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. Right on track.
Okay.
And basically, we can use anything as an opportunity to learn forgiveness. And when I utilize a movie, an interaction in a relationship, whatever it happens to be, anything that can resonate something in me is my opportunity to learn to forgive that. And I just looked online, and it's telling me that Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Stand guard at the portals of your mind." So maybe Ralph brought that forward. I was thinking it was from one of the Greek philosophers. But so if I go to a movie and it resonates, like usually last thing in the evening we'll watch something that's kind of quiet in nature or something like that. But once in a while we'll choose to do a heavier movie, and then it's just as you go into sleep, okay, Ruka, show me whatever I need to process here. And actually, last night we did watch one of those kind of action movies. And as I went to sleep, it's like, okay, show me what this moves in me. Show me what I can forgive that this has moved in me. And it was interesting. We woke up this morning. Jeanie was doing a little bit of work on my low back before she got up. And I touched into, and later as I'm breathing in it and processing with it, it went back to interaction with my father, who was pretty liberal with the belt. And literally, as she's working on my low back, and I'm in a really quiet place, all of a sudden, arising from that tissue is a voice that says, "It's okay to hurt me." And I realized that as a child, when my father would hit with a belt, there was part of me that gave permission to him to do that. Well, of course, that was a nice piece of processing work that I was able to do for myself this morning, to remove that permission and recognize how insane it is for a parent to lash out in any way, shape, or form to hurt a child, or for a child to go into cooperation with it and carry that with them all their lives. But it was very literally a voice in my low back, as Jeanie was working on that came up with those words. And so anything can be a stimulus to healing if we choose for it to be. And that's basically how we use movies oftentimes, is, okay, so I don't have to go out and create this scenario in my life to do this piece of work. There are lots of scenarios I can sit in and vicariously experience them, and then become very aware of what they resonate in me. And if they resonate something that's less than love, there's my forgiveness opportunity. So I got a nice, thanks for bringing that up, because I got a nice gift out of that just last night and this morning.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and thank you for everything you bring up. It's just awesome, and I'm excited for our group to start. So.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the next round of intensives that starts tomorrow evening. So anybody that might be interested in joining us, drop Jeanie a note at jeanie@whyagain.org and let her know, and leave your phone number, and I'll call back, or call me on my cell phone if you got it, if you want to get involved and be part of it. We're coming down to the last minutes, but we're rock and roll. And we're down to the last minute or so of the show. So thank you, Julie, for your call and your blessing.